All right. Happy Monday, AmeriFirst. And good morning to AmeriTrust on the West Coast. We have pivoted during the art of the relationship, but nobody better to talk about relationships than old Todd Duncan. And he is a great friend, a great partner. And we're going to hear something from Todd here recorded. And we're going to go live here in about a minute 30. So here we go.
Hey, AmeriFirst loan originators and managers. It's Todd Duncan coming at you. We are 2 weeks away from our 29th Sales Mastery event. It is happening October 13th through the 15th. I have some really exciting news for you. We've decided in celebration of what will be our 30th year next year to start the party now. And what we're going to do is allow all of our corporate friends to attend Sales Mastery for free. You heard it right, for free. And so I'm encouraging you to take advantage of this incredible offer, no strings attached. We simply want to give back to the friends and clients that have helped us win for so long, 30 years. It's really, really incredible. So you can just hit toddduncan.com/sales-mastery-2021, register, and you will be synced up. We're going to do 4 hours of content a day. Day one is about earning what you are worth and what you deserve. And we're going to talk about some really strong breakthroughs around efficiency and technology and profitability. Day two is about big goals and scaling and achieving those big goals for 2022. And then day three is called the Leadership Trifecta. We're going to talk about targeting, approaching, identifying, recruiting, hiring, onboarding, engaging people, loan officers, realtors, builders, everything that goes along with that. So we've got a very exciting lineup. Please come join us. It's a free gift from us to you to say thanks for helping us win, and we in turn want to help you win.
Indeed. And that's what it's all about, winning. Here he is, my friend, Todd Duncan. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing, Craig?
I'm doing great. Couldn't be happier. Thank you so much for joining us on short notice, and so excited about your 30th year and Sales Mastery and what that means. I know we're going to get into that. I know we're going to do a bunch of stuff today. So want everybody that's here and with us to be sure and get those questions down in the queue. Get them all answered. We'll get them all answered as best we can in the 60 minutes we've got with Todd. And again, next week is Sales Mastery. There's don't worry about that website. We've got the link in your inbox. The registration's right there. That video I just showed you is right there. All of this stuff is going to be right there. So just check your inbox, click, and then enjoy and be ready to wrap up the year strong and plan for a 2022. Mr. Duncan, take it away.
All right. Good to see everybody. And thanks for joining on this last minute notice of me. But I guess you guys, excuse me, I guess you guys have been doing Momentum Mondays for a couple of years, and I've been on a couple of them. It's great to have connected with Ron. He called me at 10 o'clock East Coast time on Friday and wanted me to join today for like 7 minutes. And I said, why don't I just join for the whole hour? I got something really cool that I'm sharing. And he said, sure. And so we executed everything on Saturday. Here we are Monday morning, and we are ready to roll. So listen, I created this 35-minute kind of webinar entitled The 5 Ways to End the Year Strong and Set Up for Success in 2022. I don't need to tell anybody what's happening in the markets. I don't need to tell you that inflation's at a 31-year high. I don't need to tell you that the number one home building stock has fallen 9% in the last 30 days. I don't need to tell you that the consumer price index is higher than it's been in 3.5 decades. I don't need to tell you that the 10-year has gone from 0.8 to about 1.9. I don't need to tell you any of that, but I am telling you that because things are changing and markets come and go. Good markets come and go. Bad markets come and go. Easy markets come and go. Hard markets come and go. And the one thing that I know that is really important is it doesn't matter what market you're in, it matters how you perform in that market. So I've been studying the top 1%, and I want to put a little asterisk next to that before we jump into this. Studying the top 1% is where I get validation that what I teach works. And it doesn't mean that it only works for the top 1%. What it means is that when you really get your arms around it and you really execute it at scale, your growth can be astronomical. And I don't know what your growth plans are, but I would imagine that because you work for this company and this company is about growth, I would imagine that you're pretty excited about coming out of what has been a really great year, last year and even this year, and making sure that you do whatever is trending so that you can stay out of whatever change happens. And we don't control the changes that are going to happen, but we do control what we do in those markets of change. And so in studying the top 1%, this year, I have a group of 24 people. They're in my elite program, and I personally coach these 24. Last year, this group earned $52 million in commissions, just north of $2 million each on average. And year to date through August, that group has earned $40 million in commissions. I'm giving that to you only for perspective that they all started where I started. They all started where you started. At some point, they were all where we are or where you are right now. And they made a decision to learn, grow, and get better. And so this is less about you being in the 1%. That's not the message I'm sending at all. But one of the greatest things I learned at the age of 23 was the concept that success leaves clues. And Jim Rohn said that, and he talked about it. And he said, if you really, really, really want to do well, find people that are doing really, really well and follow them, copy them, model them, swipe and adapt, have the mentors that can give you what you need to be doing, not what you are doing. So as we go through this, I want to tell you two things out of the blocks. You don't need to take any notes unless you're inspired to write something down you don't want to forget. I'm going to send you this deck in about an hour after we're done or so. And so you'll have the whole slide deck. And about halfway through, I'm going to give you another gift that I think will make what we're about to do for 35 minutes work in ways that are more attainable than they otherwise would be by just attending a 30-minute webinar. I'm actually going to give you a 20-page gift that I think you're really going to like. So let's jump into this. What are the choices that the top 1% make? Okay, what are the choices that they make? And there's 5 right now. And so be thinking between now and December 31st, how are you doing in these 5? Be thinking as you roll into 2022, how are you going to execute these 5? I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of methods to be successful, but these I think are pillars that can really, really help you accelerate. So the first thing the top 1% does is they choose their mindset. And the mindset they choose is a mindset of positivity, a mindset of abundance, a mindset of curiosity, and a mindset of boldness, right? And so whatever you need to do to start getting your mind right doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means at what level are you thinking? Thomas Dreyer, who I study, said years ago, he said, the life that we live is the life within the limits of our own thinking. And so the top 1% think in unlimited scope. They think about goals and they think about dreams in ways that are not normal. They're thinking at a level that is much, much higher. And the thing that makes it work is they're not doing it just to do it. They're doing it because they understand their why. Now, I'm going to be the first guy to tell you that I think finding your why is absolutely critical, but I'll also tell you, I think it's been bastardized in social media, and there's a lot of willing people that want to talk about finding your why, but very few people understand why works. And so prior to writing this quick webinar, I did a search on Google and I said, how to discover your why. And then I think I typed in how to find your why. And both of those returned in excess of 400 million responses. What that tells me is people are looking for a sense of purpose. People are looking for a sense of just being. Why am I doing what I'm doing? And what I want to do is talk to you about the biology of why. There's a methodology of why. Why is a self-centering, guardrail-inducing kind of focus methodology to help you stay in your lane and do things that matter most. Okay, the biology of why is what happens here in the brain as you activate more and more of the methodology that gets you the traction. And then the final piece is the psychology of why. And the psychology of why is what the biology of why gets you mentally prepared to do. So what we know for sure, and what's a really good exercise going into the end of the year, is rediscovering that and rethinking it and re-looking at it if you're not clear on what that main motivator for you is. The reason I jumped through hoops on Friday when Ron called is because I wake up every day and my why is simply to make a difference. And so when Ron asked, it was easy because I want to make a difference this morning. And so we can really get excited about aligning what happens to the brain when we are purposeful in what we do. And there's 4 things, I call them happy hormones. And to set the stage, there's a gal named Carol Dweck who's a psychologist, and she works at Stanford. And she says at the very top here, picture your brain forming new connections as you meet the challenge and learn. I think there's lots of challenges coming our way, and I think there's lots of learning that we're going to need to do. But what she says is through all things, we have to keep on going. Down below, she said we must have a growth mindset. And then highlighted for you is we can always learn and get better at what we do. If we all go all the way back to Irrefutable that we participated in 3 or 4 months ago, the first irrefutable principle is everything can be improved. So we can always learn and grow and get better. Down below, she says, out of her book, which is called The New Psychology of Success, a growth mindset can help us succeed more and be happier. And I don't know anybody that if I, said, would you like to succeed at a higher level and be even happier than you already are? I don't know people that would say, no, that's not a good idea. So there is an orientation around the gift of life that we all have, the importance of labor being done at level 10 well, and what ends up happening when we win in the marketplace. And so the happy hormones are hormones that get us dialed in to getting through tough times and help us feel empowered and unstoppable in good times. Sarah Blakely, who's the founder of Spanx, said, my dad encouraged us to fail. Growing up, he would ask us what we failed at that week. Can you imagine that? Sounds like principle 2 out of Irrefutable, right? Success can only be built on failure. If we didn't have something that we fed, he would be disappointed. Can you imagine your father being disappointed that you didn't fail at something this week? What a healthy mindset, right? She said it changed my mindset early that failure is not the outcome. Failure is only in not trying, and don't be afraid to fail. So what ends up happening when you understand the biology of why is when you align your life and business behaviors with your why, 4 things happen in your brain. They're called happy hormones. The first is dopamine. So whenever you do something that works, you feel good. And what that does is it unleashes an injection of dopamine into your brain. It's a hormone, it's a neurotransmitter. And what it does is it pats you on the back for doing something right. And so when you feel good about what you've done and you get immersed in that flood of dopamine, you feel better about yourself. So what that does is it kicks in a higher level of self-esteem and a different self-image. When you are winning, you feel better and you look better than when you're losing. And so we want to orient filtering what we do with our time through our why. And we must learn to say no to the things that don't fulfill that, and more time say yes to the things that do. When we do that, we have another hormone that kicks into gear, and it's called serotonin. Serotonin, in the most simplest way I can tell you, makes you feel positive or negative. It enhances your mood or it degrades your mood. When you're doing things that are aligned with your why and you're doing things that are purposeful, you will be in a better mood. All you have to do is think back to the last month, stuff you were doing that you didn't like doing, or things that you like in your head said, why is this happening? Why is this happening? That is a mood shift. That's a deregulator. It's happening because something was done that didn't create a congruent outcome with who you are and what you want to be. And so we need to understand that happy people, good mood, feel better about themselves. So now we get serotonin and we get dopamine. We have the reward system and we have the mood regulator. there's two more. One is called oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love hormone. And yes, while it's important and essential for mothers with new kids and connecting that way, and while it's important for all of us in our intimate relationships, in the middle is this highlight that says this hormone can also help promote trust, empathy, and bonding in relationships. So you're hearing me right. Since you guys are talking about the art of relationship, you must love your clients. You must love your clients, and you must demonstrate that love through the other initiatives I'm about to show you. In our book, 5 Stars, we talk about love them or lose them. Love your clients or lose your clients. And if you have high doses of dopamine, high doses of serotonin, and high doses of oxytocin, you're going to build a relationship based on trust and empathy and not price and product. And so it's super huge that you understand this one, because man, like, I love Ron Burgum. I mean, I just love Ron. I love Doug. I love Kate. I love Craig. I sincerely love my clients, deep love. And when you have that love, you can make the world go around. When you have that love, people can feel it, they connect. When you have that love, people trust you faster and they stay with you longer. You know, I mean, I'm in relationships right now with guys and gals that I've known for 3 decades, and we're still doing business together. And we still love each other deeper now than we did even a decade or 2 ago. The final hormone that you get is endorphins. And endorphins are our body's natural pain reliever. It says in the middle, highlighted, endorphin levels tend to increase when you engage in reward producing activities. Well, that sounds to me like a winning combination, because if we say it differently, endorphin levels tend to decrease when you do things that don't produce a feeling of accomplishment or reward. So we got dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins all affecting this. And the 8 or 9 inches between your ears is what gets in the way or what makes the journey easier. You have to decide. So if you haven't gotten really clear on what drives you, if you haven't gotten really clear on what your key methodology is, what is your life philosophy? I wake up every day. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know who, but all we want to do is make a difference and impact people. That's it. And it could happen just like this with 300 or 400 people from, the AmeriFirst tribe brand, AmeriFirst, Ameritrust, AmeriUno. And so if you like the idea of doing things better, then we go back to irrefutable, which is competence leads to confidence, and confidence leads to consistency, and consistency leads to having all these hormones. Pretty powerful stuff. So with that behind us, here's the second thing that the top 1% do. Craig, I didn't know that you were using the art of relationship. And so long before I heard you say that this morning, I said the second thing top producers do is they choose to master the art of conversational productivity. These 2 buzz phrases or buzzwords as a phrase are super powerful, super powerful. And what it says below is talk less and sell more. So the gift that I'm going to give to you that I'll send with the deck is I have a 20-page white paper that's entitled Talk Less, Sell More, the complete playbook for mortgage and real estate agents for getting to yes and winning clients for life. In my mind, this is the most success altering philosophy that I've ever developed in 30 years of teaching mortgage professionals and real estate agents how to succeed. That's how profound this is. So what does it mean? Well, you guys have heard me talk ad nauseum about the 80-20 rule, right? And we understand the 80-20 rule in kind of business productivity. We understand it maybe when we think, 80% of the time we go to the same 20% of the restaurants, and 80% of the time we order the same 20% of our favorite items. You know, we understand the 80-20 rule can be, do you want to work with 10 clients to give you one, or 2 clients to give you 5 each? We understand that. You know, do you realize that you know, instead of spending 2 hours on the important stuff and 6 hours on the other stuff, let's spend 6 hours on the important stuff and 2 hours on the less important stuff. We all understand that, right? But when you apply it to conversation, it's radical. In conversational productivity, most loan officers and agents use 80% of the time to talk and 20% of the time to listen. The top 1% reverse that. They use 20% of the time to talk, and then they ask emphasis on game-changing questions. And 80% of the time to listen, and listen with the intent to solve, not to sell. And I think the biggest shift when we think about conversation, whether it's with a borrower, whether it's a branch manager and an LO, whether it's an LO and an agent or a builder, whomever, it doesn't matter. Far too often, we use way too many words that have very little meaning, and we don't ever deconstruct the phrases or the conversations, let alone measuring how much of an hour or how much of a half an hour do I talk versus ask and listen. And in a very simple way, what I would say is, instead of asking 10 okay questions, ask 2 supercharging questions. 2 questions that give you 10 times the information, so that you don't have to ask the 8 questions that might not be as fundamentally formidable as they should be or need to be. And when you understand conversational productivity, what you must understand is this legitimately is performed by roughly the top 9% of producers in America, based on 30,000 surveys and interviews that we've done with agents and loan officers. It's mind-blowing. So here's some of the data in a simple graph. So if you look at the very bottom and you talk about seller word count, you're a seller of loans, an agent's a seller of homes, you know, an agent's a seller to the buyer to buy the home that the seller's selling. We know all that, right? At the very bottom, if we look at a seller using 100 words, okay, and they apply the first layer of the 80-20 rule, and they do it the way most people do it, they would cut out 20 words and they would use 80 words. Okay. The 80 words are not the 20% of the 100 words that should be, but they're just a little bit of a truncation of that. If you look at the far right, 80 words instead of 100, the conversion rate is about 17%. So we measure in our elite group, what is your conversion from client conversation and credit pull to funding? And we want that number to be north of 75%. And for most, it's not. For most, they're down in the 20s, 25, maybe on a good day, 30. Now, that doesn't include follow-up and nurturing that might produce more. The key is, I want to talk to more people. I want to connect more deeply with the people I have, so I get more people to say yes out of a finite population, instead of less people to say yes out of a infinite population. If we go all the way to the left, what we're intimating here is, instead of using 100 words, use 25 words. Now, in order to use 25 words, you probably need 2 or 3 ass-kicking questions. Questions that are game-changing, questions that stop somebody in track and realize that what you have just asked is something they have never even contemplated. I was talking with one of our elite guys the other day, and he is converting 3 out of 4 to triggered submissions to processing, and 98%, just shy of 99, actually 98.7% closing. And I said, so if you understand conversational productivity and a borrower asks you, what is your interest rate on, and just fill in the blank. This guy, without blinking his eyes, said, that all depends on when you would like to retire and be financially free. Just think about that for just a second. Just think about all of a sudden a borrower wanting a rate quote and then having a professional position that all depends on. And what our job is to become the master or master us of questions. Because if I can take my normal conversation from 10 questions down to 2, maybe 3, and I can convert, look at this at the very top, 76% to yes. Who would not want to do that? Everybody on the planet would benefit by talking less and listening more. Our first big deal was with American Savings Bank, and they asked us to come to Irvine. And I remember getting into the office building, going to the top floor. And I remember going into the conference room, and big old long table, you know, bank power. There was chairs everywhere, but they had 6 chairs on one side and 2 on the other side of the conference table. The 2 on the other side were for me and Dave Agana. The 6 on the other side were for head of production, head of training, head of HR, and 3 regional managers. All the other chairs are pushed away. So it kind of felt a little kind of confrontive, you know, because we're across the table from them. And so the president of the company said to me, so tell us about the Duncan Group. So that was a question coming in from a client, right? And what I learned early in my career is never answer that question, ask a question. And so what I did is I looked at him and I said, the Duncan Group is a lot of things to a lot of banks and mortgage companies, but to make sure that we're the right thing for you and American Savings, help me understand what's important about this training initiative to you. And I zipped it. And 30 minutes later, we had not spoken. I had not spoken. Dave had not spoken. All 6 were just telling us things that they wanted to have happen as a result of the training. We asked one question and got 30 minutes of responses. And after the 30 minutes, we presented a couple of ideas. They loved both ideas. I said, based on what we've shared, do you feel comfortable moving to the next stage? To which they said, we have 2 other vendors that we need to talk with. To which we asked, when do you think you'd like to make a decision? To which they said, probably within the next 2 weeks. To which we asked, is there anything we can do before we leave to help you be even more comfortable with us? And they affirmed, no, this has been great. We'll get back to you. So we walked out, felt good, went downstairs, wrote 6 thank you cards, paid the security guard $20 to walk the thank you cards back up to the top. Every other day for 2 weeks, we sent testimonial letters from other banks and mortgage companies on what has happened to their sales culture. And 15 days later, we got a phone call and we got the deal. And it was a $750,000 deal. And my partner, Dave, said, so we always ask clients that say yes, what allowed you and what caused you to feel comfortable choosing us? You had 2 other vendors. Here's what the guy said. The 2 other vendors didn't sound like they knew what we were looking for. You guys sounded like you knew exactly what we were looking for. And my point to this story is, of course, we knew exactly what they were looking for because we've mastered conversational productivity. And so when you think about this, you've got to then understand that the top 1% choose to master the new high trust interview. The old one isn't gone. We've just layered something on top of it that makes it even more powerful. And you have to get strategic and you have to ask better questions. So in the document that I'm sending you, the entire 20-page document is on conversational productivity. And we outline these strategic questions. So there's 6 different types of questions. You don't ask all 6 at once. There's not an order to this. It depends on who you're speaking to. It depends on your client. It depends on what they're looking for. And so you've got to get good at all of them. So the document that I'm sending you has 27 scripts in the form of questions to you. And it outlines every one of these. I'll give you a couple of samples. Between now and the end of the year, you should have a biz dev meeting with every realtor you're counting on, or every builder you're counting on, or every business partner, or all of the above that you're counting on doing business with next year. And you should start to talk about what they'd like to do next year. So if I'm sitting down with a realtor and we're talking about the business, I would say, let's go to number 2, a present question. Based on where you are in your real estate business today, what are 2 or 3 changes you want to make as you roll into next year that I could come alongside you and help you implement? That's an example of a present question. If I'm a branch manager, I'm going to sit down and do business reviews with my LOs. And I'm going to say, hey, Jim, we're in Q4. Based on where your mortgage business is right now, what are some of the changes you want to make as we roll into next year that I could come alongside you and help with? So all it takes is like one question. And if I were your LO, I might tell you 3 or 4 things I need help on. So the big idea is fewer questions that get you more information. I could be working with a realtor and I could say, hey, Betty, we've been doing business for a decade together. And, you know, one of the things that I think is really important to discuss is the future. And, you know, we're at the end of the year and it's time to kind of think about that. Where do you see your real estate practice being, let's say at the end of 2023? And just zip it and let the answers come. And when you ask that question and somebody says where they want to be at the end of 2023, we've got, I don't know, maybe 10 things that we can now serve them and come alongside them and meet them where they're at and add value to them where they are, instead of all this stuff that just keeps getting said. This idea of quiet confidence, this idea of really looking at how deep do your questions go, and how, you know, how emotional are they? So when we look at like, let's go to, you know, I mean, question 3, I can't quote you a rate or even talk about a product unless I know when you would like to be debt free and have your mortgage paid off, or when you'd like to retire and have your mortgage paid off, or when you'd like to be financially free and not have a mortgage. You know, I mean, I've got to ask these questions. If I have a first-time home buyer, I'm going to use question 4. Most people buying their first home have a lot of fears. What fears do you have that I can help guide you through so that you don't have them as you go through this beautiful achievement for you and your family? That's a great question. You know, that is a great question. I can ask a loan rep that hasn't been executing very well. I just look them straight in the eye and say, it looks to me like you're kind of sliding, and I don't know what you are afraid of, but what's getting in the way of you reaching your potential that I could help you with? That's a fear question. Awareness questions. I could say to a real estate agent, I could say, are you aware that 9 out of 10 buyers that you're going to be showing property to claim that the number one stress they have in their life is financial? And most agents are going to say no, to which I'm going to say, it's really important that before you show those 9 properties, that you refer them to me so I can have a conversation about their financial profile what we can do to help it become healthier and put them in the best buying position possible for you. And what that's going to do, you guys, is that for the buyer's agent, that's going to increase the intimacy they have with a buyer. It's going to hone in on what price ranges they should show. It's going to reveal and illuminate fears that they have. And you guys need to know this. This is a big pivot that I think is happening in our industry, that if you're not, if you personally don't have high levels of fiscal literacy, and what I mean by that, beyond the mortgage, and if you don't understand that really the big job for mortgage professionals is liability management, and what we want to do is beyond the mortgage, which we have to get right, we also want to come alongside them and help them with all the other financial issues that they might have to achieve a different level of freedom and happiness. You know, if a buyer's pushing me on low rates, I can say, you know, I'm going to ask you a question that most lenders won't ask you. So that's question 6, competition elimination. I'm going to ask you a question most lenders won't ask you. And now I pop up to number 5 and I add, are you aware that the lowest rate with the wrong strategy can cost you more than a slightly higher rate with the right strategy? Are you aware is so powerful. Are you aware? Are you aware? Are you aware? And you get this like clairvoyance. You just get this like, you're in the driver's seat. And so the document that I'm sending out to you, that playbook, you guys got to digest that and make it as real as you possibly can, because these questions are going to change conversion. They're going to accelerate trust, and they're going to get you to yes faster. The last thing that leads into the kind of the final idea is model them, model the top 1%. What do they do to be different? Okay, and there's nothing that says if I've got somebody I'm looking at that's funding 50 loans a month and I'm funding 10, there's nothing that says I can't copy them. I can't model them. That's exactly what you should do. Here's how production distributes right now. So this is through August of this year. So the top 1% in 2018 averaged 15.3 fundings a month. In 2020, the top 1% averaged 45 loans a month. And year to date through August, they're averaging just shy of 29 loans a month. Between 2018 and 2020, the top 1% has had almost a 300% improvement in productivity. I've got a lot of data behind this, but I want you to see kind of maybe where you're at. Top 10% year to date is 12 fundings a month. Last year, 20 fundings a month. 2018, 7 fundings a month. Top 20%, 5 loans a month in 18, 8 loans a month in 21. Last year, 14 loans a month. So I give this to you for a lot of reasons. One, you can kind of see where you're at. And the other is what the change looks like going forward. And obviously, if you compare 2021 to 2020 for the industry, you can see that it's bled off a little bit, in some cases by as much as 30%. For the winning companies, it's probably not bled off at all yet. You're probably still growing. But I want to show this to you because what do the top 1% do to have these results? 3 things. They have mega high standards, high standards personally, high standards financially, high standards physically. They are healthy, they are getting wealthy, or they're wealthy, okay? And they hold themselves personally accountable to lifestyle mastery. They have high standards for quality, very high standards for process, very high standards for team, very high standards for who they say yes to and who they say no to. Standards on time, high standards on revenue per hour. They're Olympians. The top 1% mostly are Olympians. They're at the top of their game because they have high standards. Now imagine a business that has low standards, and just imagine the problems that are created. So if you want more volume and you want to work less hours, The higher the standards, the faster you will have that equation work out. The second thing is they have predictable routines. They run their business like a doctor runs a practice. Appointments, 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 appointments. Okay. They do three things routinely. They work with buyers 50% of the day minimum. They work with referral partners 25% of the day minimum. And then they work with team and the customer service experience for 25% of the day. They have predictable routines. I called my chiropractor yesterday because I wasn't going to be able to meet him today. And the answering voice said, our hours are ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. And some days, the doctor's done at 1. Some days he comes in at 7, but it's all routine. It's all like rhythmic. There's not a lot of surprises. They know what to do, when to do it, and why they're doing it. And so the more predictable your routine is, generally the purer your business is, which means we don't have a lot of collateral damage through incomplete applications or marginal buyers or, even things like learning and growing. I mean, it's just the routine, right? And if you want me to show you somebody that's successful, all I have to do is look at their time use. And so you may want to look at this going into the end of the year, and then they have the buying process mastered. I don't know how you would rate yourself, like scale of 1 to 10, 10 being Olympian. How good are you at the borrower conversation and converting? If you're not converting 2 out of 4 or 3 out of 4 to deals at close, I would say you've got work to do. If you have people that want to think about it, I would say you have work to do. If somebody says, I want to talk to some other lenders, I think you have work to do. If a real estate agent says, I don't really refer buyers to one person, but I give them a couple options, then you have work to do. And the buying process is huge, because if you don't have this mastered, you got to talk to more people, and you will rely more on luck than you will skill. So those 3 things are worth parking on now and for all year next year. You should have all these just dialed by December of next year. Final thing they do is they're curious and they're innovative. I think you can innovate a question. I think you can innovate whenever you see something not working. And the innovation model is super simple, right? At the very top, something happens. It's called a trigger. I made 10 calls on realtors this week and not one panned out. That's a trigger. What that is okay, was it them or was it me? And chances are it's probably you. And so now you have some tension, because you don't want to make 10 calls next week and have 10 no's. So you have this healthy tension of, what do I need to do differently? And what I need to do differently could entail some risk. I could call on fewer people with more value. You'd have to trust that, right? I don't need to call on 10, maybe I just need to call on 2. And if I can convert 1 out of 2 to a relationship, that's a risk worth taking. Okay, I might need to invest in a front-end acquisition strategy. I might need to spend some money on some marketing and some of the things I'm doing that work. But anything that is a trigger is going to cause you to need to change. And usually if something repeats itself 3 times and you don't like any of the outcomes, that should tell you you have to innovate. We're innovating the client conversation right now as we speak. This whole 35 minutes with you so far is about the client interface. And the risk in asking these questions is you're going to be uncomfortable, but the reward is better questions. You get people to yes faster. And so the narrative is, this is the smart thing to do. This is the wise thing to do. This is the right thing to do for me, my family, and our financial future. And then you just measure it again, and you're going to either get a different trigger, a trigger that works. We have a trigger that works. Last year, we had 21,000 people attend Sales Mastery. 5 months earlier, COVID hit. We had to pivot. We became a digital streaming company overnight. I hired the studio that produces film for Netflix, spent $250,000 to try to make sure we did this right. And the entire time for 5 months, the narrative is this is either going to work really well or it's not going to work very well at all. And as it ends up, we had 44,000 people registered from 9 countries. And by innovating around that, we were able to keep that brand alive. This year, we're innovating because I invited everybody to my home and we sat in my home, and we're going to be broadcasting from my home. And that was innovative. That's why it's called Unfiltered. It's no big stage. It's none of that. It's just this intimate kind of personal conversations. And so when you're innovating, you have to understand the 3 mindsets of progress. One is the value of yesterday, is the lessons you've learned, and the mistakes you've made. And you have to have personal grace. You can't be hard on yourself. If you understand that success can only be built on failure, you can't be hard on yourself. If stuff doesn't work, it's okay. It is okay. Because I wrote a Post-it note on Instagram 4 days ago that's had this monstrous engagement. And the Post-it note said, if you are not failing, ... you are failing. It was like profound, but failure is a good thing. So give yourself grace. Don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow's going to be here before you know it. As long as you're better, as long as you're equipped, as long as you're, game ready, you don't need to worry about tomorrow. Worry, I mean, there's only about 7% of what we worry about that ever comes true anyway. So just think about the mental freedom you get by not worrying. And then finally, win today, which requires everything we just talked about in spades. And so these 5 things, super critical. Again, I'll send you this deck and I'll send you the playbook. Did want to make sure that we closed with some questions, and Craig had said, put some questions in the chat if you would like to do that. You guys got the link. I do want to make sure you understand that Sales Mastery is entirely free for you, and it's free for everybody you know. You can reach all your agents, invite everybody that came to Irrefutable, invite any agents that you're trying to get into, a relationship with as you head into next year. Invite your friends that are loan originators that may not work for this great brand. Invite everybody. It's free. I mean, we can hold 50,000 people, so it doesn't really matter. And it's a gift that we're going to give back to you. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, Craig. And let's see what kind of questions we might have from people in chat. Good to see you, Mark.
I don't see any questions quite yet, but
okay, so
Brian Maddox from Charlotte. Yeah, please, everybody, put your questions in there. We've got another 10 or 12 minutes or so get those questions answered. I've taken some notes and got a couple things of my own too, but I want to share Brian Maddox, branch manager in Charlotte and also fan of the second place Denver Broncos, says, wow, just wanted to say thank you to Todd. Every time I hear him speak, I'm motivated to do better and be more consistent with my better. Thank you, Todd. Such spot on info. So thank you. Thank you, Brian, for that. And sorry about your Broncos yesterday.
You just won't let that go. He just likes to so he keeps his punches
a little jab anywhere I can, because I know it's coming back when the Raiders take one on the chin at some point. I'm sure maybe by week 15 or 16 they'll have a loss too. But anyway,
but maybe just one though.
Yeah, just one, right?
Because I'm a 50-year Charger fan, and when I found out that Raider Stadium was being built 2 blocks away from the high rise that I have a place in Vegas, I'm thinking I'm going to become a Raiders fan. And awesome. Sure enough, bought 4 season tickets, and here we go. I can walk to the stadium in 5 minutes.
Incredible. Hey Todd, I wanted to thank you for pivoting on Friday, working on Saturday, presenting the itinerary on Sunday, and launching on Monday. That is what we are all about. And you said something that it really hit me right from the beginning. The reason why I made that phone call to you is the same reason why you got on the call today, which is that we want to make a difference in our originators' lives so that we can, I was thinking about what you said about the failing part. And I have a little bit of a twist on that you said, if you're not failing, then you're failing, right? And I was just watching Michael Jordan, some of his conversations. and
Yeah.
he was talking about failing, and he said, he kind of like said, you have to fail. If you're not failing, what are you doing? Because you can't win if you don't lose. And he really just said it like matter of fact. And I was thinking about it as well, that if you're not in the fight, then you're not fighting. I mean, if you're not in the game where you're changing and you're forcing upon yourself ideas, learning, growing, being a little bit out of your comfort zone or a lot out of your comfort zone and challenging yourself to get better, someone else is doing that. If you're not doing that, I guarantee you there's a lot of other people that are doing that. And that shows you on those statistics on the top 1%, 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%. You can see the progression from people. Some of them actually went backwards on those tiers where their productivity got less in other years on the bottom 50, then the other ones are doing a double and they're actually going backwards. And sometimes I sit there and so I had a commentary on that. Maybe you want to address that, because my biggest frustration is people understanding and then learning on how to create a connected relationship with someone. And it's everybody, right? It's the borrower, but it's the realtor. And maybe it's life, right? It's a reflection of their own life. But you have anything that you would like to just kind of comment on that, or about how you really sink your teeth into creating, if you're not doing a good job of connecting with your borrowers or your realtors, what are the things they really need to start doing to fix that?
The thing that hits me immediately, Ron, is you gotta believe, you gotta get to a point where you believe in your heart that relationships matter. You got to get there, and you got to get away from thinking that you're selling anything or you're competing for a deal. You got to get completely away from that. And what has to happen is you just got to get good. If you just move from good to better to best to great, and you do that by a disciplined focus for a year and a change of your heart. So we get back to the emotion, we get back to the conversational productivity. And I didn't say this, but it serves Ron's question perfectly. I want whatever conversation I have with a borrower, I want it to be 80% relationship and emotional and 20% product and recommendation. The industry has that flipped. They spend 80% of whatever conversation they have on the economics and only 20% on the relationship. You want to light your business up, just change that. And why those 6 questions are important. If you don't know the questions, you're going to default to talking.
That's the hard part, right? They want to, I mean, you said that if they just stop and fixate on what you just said, the hardest thing is if their mouth isn't moving, they think there's a problem.
Right.
And it's actually, that's a false belief. So we got to get them to switch that gear and recognize that's that's guaranteed failure, right? Well, then learn from it, right?
Well, and I think, when I was at the American Savings Deal, and I remember, because I got trained very early on. I went to a 15-week school when I was 23 years old that taught me the power of relationships. And when I said the Duncan Group is a lot of things to a lot of banks and mortgage companies, but to make sure we're the right company for you, what's important about this training initiative to you? And zip. And it's the hardest 10 or 15 seconds of silence. And most people start filling in the blanks, start answering the multiple choice. Would it be this? Would it be that? Would it be that? This? You got to shut up. And you just got to wait for somebody to start to give you the answer. And then you have to listen. You should write this in stone. Do not listen to sell. Listen to solve. You are a solutionist. You're not selling anything. The sale of using you and your company and your product is a byproduct of you solving. The more you solve, somebody's problem. It's the number one branding question that every company has to answer. What problem do we solve? And you got to know it. And if I'm solving for a borrower financial peace of mind, that's a whole different conversation than what kind of mortgage do you want?
I mean, you literally go back to that basic question, and it goes to the realtor, the builder, the potential value-added partner, the borrower. It's the same baseline thought process. Is that there's a, hey, Duncan Group means a lot of things to a lot of people. You can say the same, hey, your lending partners mean a lot to a lot of different real estate agents, but what is important in your business? What is it?
What's important to you?
Not your business. What is it that matters to you? And mastering that equation of relationship. And I think you started with the right idea. It's got to matter.
Yeah.
Like, you got to care more about the realtor or the borrower than you do about yourself in that moment, if that makes sense, right?
Well, and not only does it make sense, but hang on, this is so important. This is the law of reciprocity. You guys got to understand, reciprocity is somebody that will reciprocate to you because of something you have done for them. If you get that and you understand that, it can be a gift of clarity for a borrower that doesn't know there's other mortgages, doesn't know there's other types of strategy, doesn't know. That's the gift. And they reciprocate because now they trust you. A real estate agent is going to reciprocate not because you ask them if they're working with any buyers you can talk to. They're going to reciprocate because you have asked them what's important in your life and business right now that you need a solution to that you don't have. And then I'm going to go find that and I'm going to give it to you. And now you reciprocate. You guys got to just, Ron is so right. You have to, the Bible talks about metanoic thinking, which is the transformation of your mind. You need to transform your mind for the rest of your life that you're not selling anything. All you're doing is helping people achieve the American dream in an economic way that produces financial peace of mind. That's all you're doing. And if your realtors know that, then they're going to start getting excited about it, because most of the lenders they've worked with in the past don't do this. So it's huge.
Yeah, I was going to share a quick.
Beautiful. Mark, I can
Sorry,
see
Ron, I want to make sure we get to the questions in the queue. And I'll share a quick story. Our Hour of Power Friday, I had our workout, and we sent everybody on their way. It was the 1st of October to call out to their listing agents and selling agents for the month of September of closings. And we had Michael Hoffman come back in our success stories, and he shared the fact that he reached out to a listing agent for the first time in his 20-year mortgage banking career, and he asked him if it was okay if I give you a 5-star review on Google.
Oh,
and the guy's like, yeah, and he got so excited, he got so jacked up, he's so fired up, and the success story was great. But so anyway, I just wanted to share that with you and the rest of the group who weren't on Hour of Power on Friday. But Joe Detmer asked, how much time on a daily basis do the top 1% spend on constructively learning, growing, and getting better?
Yeah, so I think the easy answer is probably an hour, hour and a half. The most frequent thing they do is they use drive time to learn. They don't use drive time to make calls or anything like that. So like I talked to a guy yesterday who's in our elite group. He made $3.7 million in commissions last year. He bought 101 rental properties last year. Guy's just on fire, and he listens to 3 podcasts a day. He's got one that he listens to on the way to the office. It's called Problem Solvers from Entrepreneur Magazine. He listens to our podcast midday, and then he listens to a podcast going home, which is usually a TED Talk that he likes. And yeah, I would say, 60 minutes maybe. What's your morning rhythm? What do you learn before, it's game time? What do you do during the middle of the day to take a break and just learn something that kind of feeds your soul and whatnot? And this is not Joe, their coaching sessions or anything like that, but they're learning at scale. And one of the guys, that is in our elite group, I think he told me last week that he listens to a minimum of 10 books on Audible a month. And you think about that and you're going, okay, wow, 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 wow. So learning, though, has to precede the doing. Because if you do without learning, that's consequential.
For sure. Well, I know
Yeah.
we got a couple minutes left. I want to give Mark a chance to chime in.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Todd, how you doing?
Good, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Always good to see you, my friend. Love Audible. It's like my best friend. Now I don't quite get that many, but I do probably 20 books a year. So yeah, that's I mean, it's really good. My friend, you are the Jedi master of sales, and I always enjoy hearing your latest and greatest. The precise language and really understanding how to go deep with somebody in a short period of time is such an art form. And thank you for penciling it out for our folks, because it is powerful stuff. Thank you, Obi-Wan Kenobi. There is no competition.
I think, there isn't. I mean, learners are
There is
earners.
no competition.
That's it. We have the best
Learners are
ratings.
earners and leaders are readers. I mean, you got to learn. You got to learn at scale. If you're learning faster than your clients, they'll always need you. And if
Really
you're
good.
learning faster than your competition, they'll always be behind you. And it's just
So
important.
a short, sweet one, if you want to jump in, the Go Giver.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I see Bob's Instagram post feed all the time, and it's I like that, the Go Giver. And I also like the Mr. Thank You Project, John Israel.
If you've not done it before, that's a short one. It's a little
Yeah.
anecdote with a story. It's
Yep.
so great. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour. I got a couple more comments I want to just bring in here. Linda McGinnity from Northwest Indiana says, I'm looking forward to getting your materials on conversation and looking forward to implementing it to make myself better and excel. Lance Powell, your friend, I know, out in California. Thank you for all you do, Todd. I've been a disciple since the very beginning and look forward to Sales Mastery 2021 to our success. So great stuff as always. Again, I just have, you said something about 7% of what we actually worry about comes to fruition. I know we're already over the hour, but just elaborate on that for a minute. And that was something that Mike Hoffman also shared when he made that phone call. He's like, I worry about it. I panicked. I fretted it. And now all of a sudden I don't. And so just elaborate on that for a quick second, if you would.
Yeah, so I wrote a program called Personal Innovation, and I taught it at Sales Mastery last year. And the one thing I said is that success lies at the intersection of control and surrender. Okay. And Deb was in bed one night and she got up a couple times, and it was unusual for her to get up. And I think she got up at 2 and then she got up again at 4:30. And so when we were having coffee, I said, what did you get up for last night? And she said, I just had this vision at 2 different times in the middle of the night. And I had to write down the Post-it note, put it on my mirror so I wouldn't forget. And so I said, can I see him? And so we walk into the bathroom and one Post-it note says 0%. And the other Post-it note says 100%. And I said, so what does that mean? She said, my greatest stress in life is when I'm trying to 100% control things that I really don't have any control over. And my greatest freedom in life is when I understand that 0 is, let's not try to control anything. Let's be curious. Let's surrender. That's not a weak word. That is a powerful word. We are told all things work together for good. And so somehow or another, if your curiosity precedes your critique and you're interested, you can give up control. And it doesn't mean that you're not a planner. It doesn't mean that you don't look at the optics. It doesn't mean that you don't manage the business. But man, I got stuff happening in my life that if I did not have curiosity as one of the main things I have right now, surrender. It's like I'm just surrendering to things that I don't have control over it. Like I bought 4 season tickets to the Raiders, and they won't let you in unless you have a vaccine. I could get really pissed off about that, or I could say, you know what, Raiders tickets are trading for twice face value. I'm going to sell all my tickets, watch the game, make my season tickets back times 2. I mean, I sold Bears tickets for $2,200 a ticket. So I guess the good thing is I can't go to the game because I'm not vaccinated. So let's make lemonade out of lemons.
Indeed.
Just
Indeed.
stuff
Well-
happens, man. What's the good? What's the good? What's good about this? What's good about this? What's good? Not why did this happen? What's good about this? What's good about this? How can I take
All
this
right.
and do something with it?
Keep me
We
in
could
mind
keep
for
going
some of those
another
Raiders
hour.
tickets. I know we could. Keep me in mind for some of those Raiders tickets, so I might have to, I may make
Who's
my
your
way
team?
over there. That's the Raiders.
Okay. All right.
And I don't think they're,
Uh,
Raiders, the Lions are the other team, but I don't think they're playing the Lions. So, but and thank goodness for the Lions. Anyway, we are at the top of the hour. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Todd. I'm just going to share my screen one last time and tell you that Sales Mastery is right around the corner. It is next week. So we got Wednesday,
Yep.
Thursday, Friday, 3 half days. So it isn't a whole day commitment. As Todd said, invite all of your realtor friends, partners, everybody and anybody. Get it out there, and what an incredible gift that we can bring to our LOs, our realtor partners, and really, quite honestly, everybody at AmeriFirst. So thank you again, Todd. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week. We will see everybody back here on Wednesday for actually, I'm not sure. I think we might have to reschedule our readiness briefing. I think we have a conflict on Wednesday. We will get more information out on that very soon. But until we see you next time, have a great rest of your day. Be smart, be safe, and we will talk to you all real soon. Take care, everybody.